Would you like to start selling on Amazon, but you're not exactly sure what you need to do or what you need to have to get yourself going? If so, you might like my free checklist that outlines all you need to have, what you need to do, plus all the key decisions you'll need to make to get off to a great start on Amazon. To get it, just go to my website, vickyweinberg.com/free resources. That's VICKIWEINBERG.com/free resources, and you can also find it linked in the show notes for this episode. Welcome to the Bring Your Product Idea to Life podcast. This is the podcast for you if you're getting started selling products or if you'd like to create your own product to sell. I'm Vicky Weinberg, a product creation coach and Amazon expert. Every week, I share friendly, practical advice as well as inspirational stories from small businesses. Let's get started. Hello, welcome to my Amazon Made Easy Tuesday episode. So today I want to talk about how to get found on Amazon. Because if you're selling your products on Amazon now, or if you're not, but you're planning to, maybe it's one of your goals for 2025 or some point in the future, one of your goals might be to make it onto page 1 for search terms that are relevant for your product. And if you are aiming for that, that's absolutely the thing to do. I'm sure we're all looking for that, aren't we? Because studies show that if your product shows on the first page of the Amazon search results, you will get at least 80% of all clicks. Well, hang on, I haven't worded that quite well. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that products on the first page get 80% of all clicks, and the first 3 listings at the top of the search results get 60% of those clicks. So that's 60% between them. So that's pretty impressive, isn't it? And it also tells you that most shoppers don't go beyond page 1 of the search results because, well, if 80% of the clicks go to page 1 and that's 20% for page 2, I think very few people are going beyond page 2. So if you're not on page 1, it'll be much harder to get found and much harder to get sales. And of course, as I've said, the higher up you are on page 1, the better as well, because as we've also just said, 60% of the clicks go to those who are the first 3 listings. So that's that top line really. So if you are not showing up near the top of page 1, this is probably down to the Amazon algorithm. So ranking, by the way, I should probably explain, means where you show up in the search results. And obviously the higher you show up, the better. Amazon's algorithm is notoriously quite secret. They don't talk too much about it, but there are 2 things that we do know. And these are the factors that determine how well your products will rank. So the first one is performance and conversion ranking factors, and the second is relevancy factors. So in really simple terms, the thing that affects ranking most of all is your product sales and conversions. So the more products you sell and the better your product converts, the more money Amazon makes. And as we know, Amazon exists to make money. So they will always prioritise the products that are already selling well over newer products, which is one of the reasons it can be so hard to get started on Amazon, or products that are on Amazon and maybe they've been on there for a while, but they're making less sales. So it's always really tough to get started. I've spoken about this before, because if you need to be making sales to show up, but you can't show up until you're making sales. So, and this is why, by the way, and I'm not going to talk about this much in this episode, we'll have future episodes on this topic, but actually this is why Amazon advertising can be a really good way of getting started on Amazon, because for one, you're going to hopefully show up near the top of page 1. Of course, there's no guarantee, as with any advertising, but you have a better chance of showing up at the top of page 1, even if you paid to get there. By showing up there, you are going to get a proportion of the clicks, and hopefully your product will convert and you'll get some sales, and then that will help with your organic rankings as well. And then the second factor that determines ranking on Amazon is relevancy. So this means having a product listing that reflects the product you're selling really well. So if you get a lot of clicks for a particular term, whether that's via advertising or organically, but you don't get many sales, so of all the people who search for whatever, a relevant search term, they see your product, they click on it, but none of them are buying, or very few of them are buying, the algorithm will assume that your product isn't actually relevant for that search term, and that means that your ranking for that keyword or phrase will drop. But on the other side, if everyone searching, or a lot of people searching for a particular phrase that click on your product do go on and buy it, Amazon will say, oh, that's actually, that product is actually really relevant, and let's show it to more people, because people who search for this and click on this product tend to go on and buy it. So hopefully that helps. So that really means a really tangible thing you can do out now you know this is to have a great product listing that ranks really well for relevancy, because you can't improve your product sales without this organically, and it's definitely a good baseline. In terms of how you do it, the first thing that most customers do when they shop on Amazon, as you know, is type what they're looking for into the search bar. Very few people will go into a category and, drill down through all the subcategories. If you're looking for a wooden spoon, you're going to search wooden spoon. You're not going to go into kitchen and then utensils, and then I don't even know what will come under that, but you know what I mean. People are using the search bar. And that's why knowing the words and phrases customers are searching for and making sure they're included in your product listing is really important. So as you will probably know, every Amazon product listing needs to have a product title, key features, a product description, and search terms that are really well written and optimized for Amazon SEO, which is different from the SEO on Google. If you're not sure what those search terms are, so if you're not sure what the keywords and phrases are you need to have in your listing, or perhaps you've got some from your website that you've got from Google, as I say, these are going to be different. So you have the option of using an Amazon keyword tool. I use Jungle Scout. I really like Jungle Scout. I'll put a link to Jungle Scout in the show notes, but there are others available as well, so that doesn't have to be the one that you use. You can also use the Amazon search bar to do some research, and I've done some episodes on this before. But it's just really important that you know the words and phrases your customers are searching for, and they're actually included in your listings, and of course in your advertising if you're running any Amazon ads. So you also need to have really great images and graphics and take advantage of the Amazon features like A+ content, because remember, on an Amazon search results page there are only two things you can see. You can see the product image and you can see the title, and you can't even see all of the title. So this is something to think about as well, that if there's really key information that might make the difference between someone buying your product or not, or your product has a really key USP, that needs to be sort of up in the title, so near the front, so that people can actually see it from the search results page. Because otherwise, if the key feature of your product is the last thing you've said in the title, that's not actually going to show in the search results. So think about the order of your title as well, and sort of, I think they call it front loading, so put the most important information up front. And your main image has to work really well alongside your title to entice people to click through to your listing. So your main image, obviously we're a bit restricted because it has to be your product on a white background. You can't have text or anything like that. So it is, when I say it has to entice people to click through, I know that's kind of easier said than done. My best advice here would be to make your product fill as much of that white space as possible. So not too much white space, and make your product big so people can see what it is. Obviously use the picture that shows your product from the best angle. And it's really hard for me to be specific here because your product will be different from someone else's. So it's really hard for me to say which photo you should actually use. But remember, you can trial this. You can definitely use one key image, and then you could have that for 2 weeks, and then you could do some A/B testing and switch to another image and see how that affects your conversions and your sales. Because remember, you can track all of this in Amazon. If you don't know how to do that, definitely let me know. That's something I can help you with, is like looking into your analytics and seeing how all these things are working for you. So, and of course there are other things we need to think about. So you need to think about pricing, how you fill your orders, but those are all things that we can talk about in different episodes. And if you're new to Amazon, you're also going to need to put in some work to get your initial sales, as we've spoken about earlier, and some product reviews, because both of these are going to help you start ranking for the performance factor. And I'm actually going to talk about both of these in my next episode out next week, because I think this is worth going into in a bit more detail. And as you know, I try and keep these episodes short and just cover one topic because, as I've said before, some of these, hopefully they're really useful. They may, or, how interesting they are is going to vary week on week, depending what we're talking about. But I do try and keep these short because I'm aware that obviously we have the full length episodes on Fridays as well, which I really hope you're enjoying. But these ones are just to talk about Amazon. So before we finish, just a reminder, your first priority, if you want to take some action from this episode, because that'd be great. So your first priority is to ensure your product listings are really well optimized and include all the keywords and search terms that you want to rank for. If you need any help with this, you can book in a call via my website, vickyweinberg.com, and we can have a chat about it. So I really hope this is something that you can think about, maybe make some changes, and I hope that it really helps with your product ranking. One thing I will say, while I'm on this, before I finish off, is not to get too concerned about ranking and tracking what position you are for every term. You can if you want to, but you don't necessarily have to. It's just good to know that are you coming up, basically, I think is enough. If you type in something that should show your product, are you showing up on page 1? I think that's a really good place to start from. Obviously, you can look into this in much more detail, but I'm all about keeping things simple. So are you coming up for the keywords and phrases that you should be? If not, are these in your advertisements? Are they in your product listings? Those are 2 really good checks to do right away. So as always, I hope this episode was useful. I will see you again next week to talk about how to get those first sales and product reviews. And before then, I'll be here on Friday with another great interview. Speak to you soon. Thank you so much for listening right to the end of this episode. Do remember that you can get the full back catalogue and lots of free resources on my website, vickyweinberg.com. Please do remember to rate and review this episode if you've enjoyed it, and also share it with a friend who you think might find it useful. Thank you again, and see you next week. Hi, this is just a little note to say if you've enjoyed this episode, or indeed any of the episodes, and you would like to, buy me a coffee or something, you can actually now leave tips. So there's a link to how to do this in the show note. Of course, do not feel obliged to do this. This is a free podcast. This will always be a free podcast. But as I say, if you want to buy me a coffee, you can do that via the link in the show notes.